Hello, welcome back to my channel. This week we're going to be starting out with something fun. It's called book mail that I've already opened and you don't get to see it, but you will get to see me struggle off camera trying to take the sticker off while I talk to you about what I read/did today. Later in the day, I filmed a podcast with one of my best friend from high school, and that was really cool and really exciting and fun, and I loved it, and I really enjoyed doing it, and it made me been wanting to do a podcast for a long time now, but I feel like I need a partner to do it, and I don't have anyone in my life that would be a great combination, but her and her brother do the podcast. I'll try to link them down below, and it's really fun, and it was great to be with the two of them. Both of them, I've been friends with them for over 7 years now. This sticker's going to drive me insane. I read a good chunk of the Starless Sea. I just finished part 4, which means I'm on track for my book club's progress. We'll be finishing that in the next few days, which will be really exciting. You'll get to see that this week, hopefully. Yeah, I'll be finishing that at the end of this week. And then you saw the book mail that arrived. It's over on my bed, reading Kingdom of the Wicked. I'm really enjoying it. I'm like kind of surprised with how much I'm enjoying it because it's kind of YA trash, but I'm really having a good time with it. I think I'll talk to you guys about that more later because I'm only 140 pages into it. This is as far as I've made it on this sticker. Yeah, I've ripped a small bit of one corner. Hello. So I just finished my review of the book that I talked about last Friday in last Friday's video. And I figured while I have this lighting and sound and setup already, I would just talk to you about my day today. So I wasn't going to come and talk actually because I am in a very pissy mood. I got my car back this afternoon, and once I got home, I realized that a piece of my car was missing. And when I called the place, the guy had no clue what I was talking about, so I have to drive my car back tomorrow after work and get him to look at it and hopefully fix it. I'm sure they will. We've dealt with these people before, but I've had my car in the shop for over 2 weeks now. It's been 2 weeks and a day, and it was only supposed to be in the shop for 6 days. So I'm like really fed up with them at this point. I filmed my video because I wanted to do a video talking about my experience reading Graveyard Shift and Other Short Stories by Stephen King. So I did that, and it's done now. I also today worked on reading The Sky Beyond the Storm, which I'm tolerating. I'll leave it at that. I was really enjoying it up until the 10% mark, and I think I'm still enjoying it, but the parts where we're learning about Laia and Elias, don't care. But every time Helene's on page, I'm like, I just want more of her. I'm 30% in as of right now, so like the story hasn't even really started, to be honest. There's like no plot going on right now, and I'm kind of waiting for some plot to happen. It is what it is. I think it's gonna end up being a lot closer to book 3 than it is to any of the other ones, but I'm holding off because something major could happen and change my mind at the end, and I'd be thrilled. And then I don't have it with me, but I did some more reading of Kingdom of the Wicked, and I am freaking enjoying that. I really did not expect me to enjoy that because it's a YA fantasy, which heavily involves romance as like one of the main topics in the story, but I'm enjoying it. I'm buddy reading it, and I think that always helps, but I've buddy read other YA fantasies that revolve around a heavy romance and not enjoyed them. I think that this author has writing that I don't really mind, which is interesting because I would say that her writing is a little bit slower than I prefer, and we're definitely more focused on the characters than the plot, and I have lots of issues with the book itself, but I'm enjoying myself, and at this point, if I had to rate it, and I'm only 50% in, I'd rate it 4 stars. Like, it's addictive. It's really good. I think that a lot of people will really like the main guy in the story. He kind of reminds me of like the Fae that Sarah J Maas writes because he's this big buff demon dude, and he has these tattoos, and he doesn't wear a shirt whenever he walks around, and there's this whole entire scene where him and the main girl have to get into a bathtub together completely naked to like make this magical potion thing. I don't think I was supposed to laugh, but I was laughing so hard at it. At least I'm laughing instead of cringing, because when I cringe, the rating goes down, but if I'm laughing at it, the rating goes up in my mind. I talked briefly last week about how this story really means a lot to me because the story takes place in Sicily, I was about to say it in Italian, Sicily, Italy, and that is where my grandfather is from, so a lot of the culture and world building I can relate directly to, and that's awesome. I think you should check it out. I think it's enjoyable. If you really, really absolutely hate YA and you think it's the worst thing ever, don't read it. But if you're like me, where you're like, YA is pretty decent, some of them are really good, most of them are kind of average, I liked this one. I didn't actually tell you what this is about. So Kingdom of the Wicked, I do this a lot. I didn't tell you what any of these books are about, but I tend to leave that for my wrap-ups. But I'll tell you right now what this one is about, because I know. Kingdom of the Wicked is about this girl. She is a twin, and very shortly in the story, it says it in the summary, so it's not a spoiler, her twin sister is killed, and she believes that it is an awful murder. So she gets the help of a demon prince of hell. She's a witch. Her whole entire family is witches, to help her track down her sister's killer. And honestly, it's a lot less about like them working together to find this murderer as it is about like her getting him and him being pissed off at her, and then like her going off and doing stuff herself, and then like him showing up to help her. So like they're not together is what I'm trying to say through most of the story. It's like him off doing his thing and her off doing her thing, but they come together to work on it. One of my favorite aspects of the book, beyond the world building, is it's obviously very reflective of the Bible, which most Italian families are. There's first off circles of hell, which is true in the Christian Bible. There are circles of hell, and the princes of hell each embody a different deadly sin. So one of the 7 deadly sins, which is an anime I've been informed of. The prince we're dealing with is Wrath, but in the story we get to meet some of the other princes of hell, and that's my jam right there. I'm enjoying meeting all the different princes of hell so far. I guess if you don't want to know, I'll hold my mug up while I tell you which ones I've met so far. And as soon as my mug's down, you can tune back in. So far we have met Pride and... No, we haven't met Pride. We're about to meet Pride, Greed and Envy and Wrath, but I like so badly want to meet Lust, Sloth, and Gluttony, because like we don't talk about them enough in this culture. We talk about Wrath and Greed and Envy and Pride all the time, but I want to talk about Sloth and Gluttony more so, but Lust also will be a really fun one. My mug's down. We're good. This is my stack that I need to pick up after I finish everything that I absolutely need to read this month, but it's a coming. Also today, I finalized the final rules for how I'm going to be doing my TBR in 2021. I've been working on something new and fun to help me not only read all the books I physically own, but also be able to read books that I need to read and be able to support my library and have it all be like in a fun way for me to pick it. So I figured that all out today. I officially ordered everything that I need to build it, put it together. There's one more item that I need to get, which I will pick up probably on Friday and put it all together this weekend. And then I'm going to be filming that before I leave for my trip at the end of December. A lot of the videos in the second half of this month are going to be pre-filmed and just uploaded as I can upload them. So I apologize if some things are kind of weird on timing, but I will be out of the state for part of the time. And I'm really just going to be in a cabin, so there's no excuse, but I'm planning on taking the whole week off. Oh my God, I can't put my camera down. I forgot to tell you, I also read The Lives of Saints by Leigh Bardugo, which is kind of like, I just dropped something. The other Language of Thorns, except for Language of Thorns is like fairies and folk tales that we get to hear from the Grisha-verse, but The Lives of Saints is about the saints that are in the Grisha-verse. So I got it from NetGalley from Macmillan Audio for free in exchange for an honest review. I wrote a really long review on Goodreads. All I'm going to say here is that I enjoyed the audiobook. Ben Barnes is one of the narrators. I didn't really care about the other narrator, but Ben Barnes, I love him. And I like his voice a lot too. So that was a plus. I liked that we got to know how the world thinks Elena and the Darkling story started, and we get to know a little bit more about how the Darkling was trusted and put into power. And then I enjoyed it was really, really short stories. They were like 3 to 5 minutes each. There was a bunch of them. I really enjoyed that we didn't stick with like any one thing for too long. I know that the video on Friday that just came out was talking about how I don't like short stories, but I enjoyed this one because I wasn't going into it expecting a story with plot. I was going into it expecting a bunch of really short clips about these saints that maybe it's real, maybe it's not, we don't know. If you've read the 3 Shadow and Bones and you really loved them and you just want to know a little bit more about like the history and the world building, this is a good one for you to pick up. But don't expect a story, don't expect to learn like a ton about Elena and the Darkling. Like they probably got 10 minutes total. It was enjoyable. I recommend if you're into that, but if you do not care about any of those things, don't check it out. It's not for you. Hey, so we're gonna have to close that. I want to apologize to you guys. I guess I shouldn't apologize because when I explain my reasoning in just a second, it's very understandable, but I have not been vlogging this week. So I have been having just a really bad week. Anxiety attacks, panic attacks, basically every single day, some days multiple times a day. And I couldn't bring myself to vlog anything that was going on in my life because I didn't want to. It's Saturday. I've had a few, basically yesterday was a positive day and today has been a positive day. So I think I'm at the point where I can start vlogging again and be safe. And I'm going to apologize. The part of this that I want to apologize about is that this vlog is probably going to be pretty dang short, but also I have managed to read a lot of books. So I'm going to be talking about them right now and kind of letting you know my thoughts and opinions. And so that part will be kind of long because I think I have 4 books to talk about with you. Let's jump back a few days. I finished Sky Beyond the Storm. Sky Before the Storm? Dang it. I tried to remember that title for you all, but apparently I'm not good at remembering titles. Whatever. So I finished it, which is the 4th book in Sabaa Tahir's series, An Ember in the Ashes, and I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to go into detail with it because that would be super spoilery, but I felt like out of all the books, it reminded me the most of number 3. I then started and finished Ring the Shout by P. Djeli Clark, and I've officially understood that I don't like P. Djeli Clark unless it's that one specific series, and I can't think of what that series is called. I'm not a fan of short stories, so I went into reading his works kind of knowing that I wasn't going to love them, but then I fell in love with some of them, and so I've been trying to read all of his works, and I'm starting to realize what I love in short stories and what I don't love in short stories. And so I appreciate him so much for allowing me to see that. So this one just wasn't a win for me, but I think it's super, super good story and unique in the storytelling. And I think a lot of people would really enjoy it if they like short stories. So we're following this. I don't actually know exactly when the time period is, but that's how a lot of his books are. They kind of feel like they're in the past and in the future all at the same time. And we're following this woman who is a monster hunter, and she hunts these monsters called the Ku Klux monsters. And so I love how he took, and he's done this a few times, how he took something from history that was horrible and turned it into this like fantastical element and allowed for his Black characters to fight back against it. And it was so, that part was awesome. I didn't like the writing, I didn't like the pacing, and I didn't like the main character. I feel like I couldn't connect to anything. And to be fair, this work was not supposed to be for me to connect to. I'm not the target. I mean, everyone is the target audience of a book like this, but I was not the audience where I'm supposed to connect to the book. But I couldn't get into it, so I rated it 2 out of 5 stars, but I really appreciate what it did, and I think that most people should check it out. I then finished Kingdom of the Wicked, which was super bizarre because I buddy read this with a friend and we both loved it, and we both like weren't expecting to love it. Like we went into this YA fantasy being like, okay, it's gonna be a YA fantasy, it'll probably get like a 3.5, maybe 4 star. But both of us left it being like, that was so good and so enjoyable to read, and we can't wait for the sequel. So I don't know how much I've talked about this book, but we're following a girl, her twin is murdered, she calls a prince from hell. Was it the greatest book ever? No, it wasn't. I rated it 4.25 because I did have some issues with it, specifically in the logic realm of this book. There were characters who their whole entire character group, the group of people that they're with, magically could not tell lies, and yet one of them could tell lies, and that was never explained or reasoned with. And I just felt like there were lots of times where the author spoke indefinites and then broke those laws and didn't give us any explanation for them. Speaking of books that did get a 5-star though, I then this morning finished The Starless Sea, which is a favorite. I've read it before, so I'm not going to talk about it in this video. 5 stars. I loved it. I loved it again. I tabbed it. It was magical and wonderful. And then I started an arc that I have received on NetGalley, which is June Boys. I don't know who it's written by. I have the audiobook and I'm 25% through. So we're following this girl as she's investigating. There's this like serial kidnapper, I guess, who I think it's every 2 years, kidnaps 3 teenage, young, preteen boys and keeps them for a year and then releases them. And her cousin is one of the boys taken, and she's trying to investigate because this year he took 4 boys and then one of them turned up dead shortly before they were supposed to be released on that like timeline. And so she's kind of investigating it and trying to figure out who did it. There's some suspicions that it's her father, and so she doesn't want to believe that her dad could have done it. There are some suspicions that it could be anyone, of course. She's under suspicion, although we, as the reader, I think we know that she didn't do it, but there's suspicions, and it's enjoyable. We also have these sections where we are seeing her cousin in the kidnapped area, and we know that they have been abandoned, that the kidnapper is no longer taking care of them or helping them out. I don't think they would ever see the kidnapper, because then if they came to, they would just, like if they were released, they would just report who it was. So I think the kidnapper that would like leave them stuff, and he stopped leaving them packages. So we're starting to wonder, like, are they going to be released? Who's doing it? What's going on? I'm interested in it, and yet I could put it down at any point and not pick it back up. Like, nothing's pulling me in really, but it's also not bad. I'm gonna try and finish that this weekend, but I've been kind of going slowly, so it might be like a Monday, Tuesday finish, but it's not that long of a book. But right now I'm gonna sit down and dedicate like a solid hour to reading Mask of Mirrors, which is another arc that I've received, and I am loving it. And I think I've talked briefly about how I'm not going to be talking about that in my vlog. Good morning. Today is Sunday, and I've been pretty much just sitting in my apartment, either in my bedroom or here in the living room, working on my Etsy shop. If you don't know, I run an Etsy shop, and I also run a Redbubble. Both are linked down below, and it's just kind of something fun I do on the side. One day it would be really cool to have that be my full-time gig, or however you want to call it, but right now it's a lot of, I just kind of do it when I feel like it. So I do a lot of bookish stuff, bookish merch, bookmarks with lots of bookish inspired stuff, stickers. I'm working on some prints right now. I've just been working on that this morning, and then as soon as I finish up the last few of these, because I don't have a ton more to cut out, thankfully, I will be editing this video and then hopefully one more video, the video that'll come out on Friday, which I haven't decided. I filmed 2 yesterday, and I haven't totally decided which one I want to come out first. And then while I've been working on this, I have been listening to the audiobook Thorn, which was part of my try a chapter tag. I tried all of the first chapters of all the books. I tried the first chapters of all the books I own, and I'm here right now, which is pretty dang close to halfway through the book. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really loving it. It is a retelling of the story The Goose Girl, which I don't know anything about The Goose Girl, but I'm liking this a lot. The author is of Asian descent, even though the story seems to be about Europeans. I read her other book that had Indian and Japanese culture kind of combined, Sumble, and it was so good. But I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm saying this is really good, and I'm enjoying it a lot, especially for a YA fantasy. So I'm glad I finally got around to it. It made it, so when I did that video afterwards, like for my own self, I made a list of all the books that I realistically thought I could get through this year, because I wanted to get through all of my owned books before the end of the year, but that's not realistic to happen. And then I went and bought more. That also wasn't great on my part, but this was on the list of ones that I thought I could get through, and I thought realistically I should get through. So I'm really glad I'm getting to it. I don't have anything else to say. Oh, I finished June Boys this morning, and I really didn't like it. It was just kind of meh. I didn't like the writing. Really, I think that's kind of what it boils down to, but I didn't hate the book either. I just don't think it was really for me. Although based on the ratings on Goodreads, I don't totally think it's for anyone. Beyond that, I haven't been reading anything else. I'm working my way through Mask of Mirrors still. I'm at 30% and I've been reading that book for hours. I'm loving it. I have no complaints beyond it feels like I've been reading this book for hours and I haven't made a dent into it. And that's actually, I did look up some reviews because it's an arc. So I looked up some other like arc reviews that people have been making, and that's like a thing that people are saying. They're like, I've been reading this book for hours and hours and hours and I'm not getting through it and I don't know what's up. Just saying. I'm loving it though. I don't know if it will be. I keep like going back and forth between like, oh, it's a 5-star. Oh, well, I think it's a 4-star. So it'll probably, I mean, I'm 30% through, but it'll probably end up being 4.5 by the end of it. I did pre-order a copy because I was enjoying it so much and I don't regret that. I'd really love to get to 50% through that tonight, but I don't know if that's going to happen because I'm doing all of this stuff right now and then editing videos might take me a while. So you want to see the 3 postcards that I'm working on right now? So I have this one for The Queen of Nothing, which I really love. I've never read this book, but I did this design and I absolutely love it. It's hard to see here, but it's pink on the bottom. There, you can see it a little bit better. And then I have this one that I designed earlier this year of Mia from Nevernight, which I really love, and Mr. Kindly is up in the corner. And then I have this one of Laya from An Ember in the Ashes, which is really cool. And then some of the bookmarks I'm working on, I have one for Six of Crows, which has a quote. I have Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares, and they're like Pantones. I have Warbreaker, and then I also have some that are just like mandala ones. I don't have all of them printed out because it's ridiculous how long it's taken me just to get here. I have some more actually in my room that aren't here. I did some for Ninth House and some other stuff. Redbubble I update way sooner. I've been rambling way too long. The camera's flashing at me 7.5 minutes. So I will sign out now. I'm not gonna come back to you guys anymore today, but I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books or if you're planning on reading any of them. I would really love to talk to you about them. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I will talk to you all in the comments. Bye.